Hey everybody, there we are. Welcome in. How are you guys? Welcome to Crystal Masters for March. I'm so happy to see you tonight. We've had some drilling and stuff happening outside our house, so it's been a little loud, but I think we're finally under control where you're able to hear me. If you can't hear me for any reason, let me know. But I've told them to stop drilling outside. How are you guys? Welcome to Crystal Masters for March. I'm so excited tonight because tonight's class is all about sacred adornment. And this is a subject that is near and dear to my heart. I know it's near and dear to your heart. Tonight we're going to talk about triangle. This is our tool for tonight. We're going to talk about the triangle. We're going to talk about lapis. We're going to talk about rings. We're going to talk about ancient cultures and civilizations. We're going to talk about what all your fingers and your hands represent so that when you go to put on your jewelry, you're making a very conscious choice. And we have so many new members today, so I want to welcome all of you. Is anybody brand new to Crystal Masters today? Is this your first session? I want to welcome you in. I'm so excited to be with you. Of course, we're going to talk about Cleopatra tonight, for goodness sake. But I'm actually going to trace for you. I'm going to try. Let's put it that way. I'm going to try to trace for you what actually was happening with... I spill stuff on myself all the time. What actually was happening with lapis lazuli in Mesopotamia? I'm going to give you a theory. I have a theory about why it was such a big deal. But there's a reason. Look at this. Stephanie's new and Lori's new. Hi, Teresa's new. Samantha and Nick and Ren is new. Welcome in. Shyla Miller. I'm trying to mention all of you. Welcome to all of you. We're super happy that you're here. Kelly is new. Morgan is not new. Joseph is here. And like I said, hopefully the drilling and all that stuff will stop in just a minute and you can hear me really clearly. Cue Joseph. So we have a lot to talk about tonight. I want to try and leave a little bit of time tonight for your questions too. And I want to tell you, now Alexis has more information for you. Hi Alexis, by the way. If you did not get your class tool for this month, we had some... left because we always try to order more than we need so that nobody ends up without, but we have some left. So if you'd like one, you can purchase one tonight if you'd like one, and Alexis will give you all the information. I love it. Lady J says it's her third class. Ronnie says she's old. You're not really old, you're experienced. But anyway, we're happy to be here. Okay, so welcome to Crystal Masters. I know it's loud sometimes. So we posted a couple of graphics into your Facebook group and into your classroom page. I'm so happy you're here. Joseph's happy every day. I know, that's the happiest bird. He's up at 6 a.m., which is when I'm up. And he stops doing his little singing at like 8 or 9 at night. He works so hard, little Joseph. And he starts right before the kids' birthdays in March. I always know spring is coming when I hear Joseph. So anyway, I'm happy that you're here. Yeah, you get to hear all my birds in my garden because I'm teaching class from home. And actually, today makes 1 year. 1 year ago today, I taught you. I was live. You can still find the live, actually, if you look for it. 1 year ago today was the last time I was ever live in our original Sage Goddess building because of COVID. I never went live again in that building. Isn't that crazy? Because we were moving anyway, but I thought I had until November, and I didn't. So yes, last year, I went live. I had this really strange feeling, and then I went to leave the building at sunset time, 7-ish p.m., and Momo was in the parking lot because he had just gotten to LA from Mexico, and he was leaving his van with me. I posted a picture on Facebook today. And it's me hugging Momo and his beautiful, beloved Melanie, and Brooklyn's there, and none of us even knew. I didn't know that I would actually never go live from that building again. It really teaches you to appreciate the moments. And the reality is our new building is beautiful. I don't go there very much yet because I don't have a floor or anything. Construction is a full year delayed because of COVID. Like, I literally don't have a floor in my office. The walls are painted, but there's no floor. There's no furniture because my furniture is delayed. My floor has been delayed by almost 9 months now because of COVID. Because nothing can ship and anyway, it's a long story. But I'm so happy to be here at home with you, and we just make the best of what we've got. And I had no idea. I'm sure Alexis didn't know either. I know. So as soon as the new building is done, which I'm hoping the new building will be done by the holidays. I'm supposed to have a floor by summer solstice. And then I'm hoping that the new building will be done by December, and that I can actually show it to you at that point. Isn't that crazy? What a year it's been. So I'm not going to go back to SG to do classes probably until the end of the year. So you're kind of stuck with me at home at least until September. So I hope that's okay with you. Hopefully you're enjoying it. Happy St. Patrick's Day to you, by the way. We go with the flow. This year's taught me that I can't control anything and I have to go with the flow. It's probably taught you the same thing. That's right. When life gives you lemons, Melanie Moonbeam, you make margaritas, darling. Where's the tequila? Let's do it. Okay, so we have a lot to talk about tonight. Let me kind of give you a lay of the land. And like I said, my intention is to leave time for questions. I really, really want to, especially because some of you are new and there may be things on your mind. I love answering your questions. You know me, I'm an open book, and I don't know everything, but I know quite a lot. And so I'm happy to be here and answer the questions that you have too, and they can kind of be whatever was on your mind tonight. So let's just see how it goes. Plum wine and all. I know. Well, you know what I've learned though? And this is me being your older sister for a minute, even if I'm not older than you. You learn in life to appreciate the moments, right? Don't you? Like, when my kids were little, it was so hard because I had 2 babies within 2 years. Literally, I had 2 babies in 2 years because I started when I was older, and it was so hard when they were little. My daughter had colic, and my son this, and my daughter that. It was just really hard, and I was trying to work, and it was just insane. But I look back and I'm like, I really miss that. I would go back today if I could and just be able to pick them up in their little pajamas and rock them to sleep. So you learn that even the hardest moments have a lot of sweetness in them. You have to learn to appreciate every moment for what it is. I lost one of my oldest friends in the world about 2 weeks ago suddenly to what appears to be a heart attack, and he was exactly my age. We were born about a week apart, so he was 47. And it just reminds you that life is a gift, right? It's really weird when one of your peers die of natural causes. It's like, oof. So anyway, I'm in this place of like really appreciating where I'm at and not trying to rush it or change it or fix it or think about the future too much, because I'm really realizing how important this moment is. You know what I mean? And how important it is to tell people you love them. And because it's so important, you just never know. I thought I was going to have the rest of our lives to enjoy his friendship, and I didn't. So anyway, take good care of the people you love. Enjoy the moment, and thank you for your kind wishes. It's been really hard. It's been really hard, but it does teach you. It teaches you so much about life and love, and you know, we learn and we get better every day. And he was such a tough guy. He would be like, come on, you're tougher than that, you know what I mean, like keep going or whatever. But it really teaches you. So tonight is all about this. And oh no way, Melissa just lost her soulmate, and he was younger than me, right? I know. I see you, Melissa, sending you so much love. I see you guys. It hasn't been an easy year. And if it's been an easy year for you, just have space and compassion, because for others of us, it's been really this year has picked us up and dropped us and got a couple points. But tonight's all about this. Now, if you've been with me for a while, okay, you know how I feel about jewelry. I have a somewhat inappropriate relationship with jewelry. Okay, I like it. I like looking at it. I like putting it on. I'm very intentional about the jewelry that I wear. I design jewelry and I design it with a lot of intention, right? And you've seen that over the years. So tonight is all about, making choices about what you wear and how you wear it and where you wear it. And after tonight, here's my goal. I'll tell you this. After tonight, my goal is that you never put on a bracelet or a ring ever again without stopping and going, is that the right finger? Is that the right hand? What's my intention? Should I be wearing my bronze side to the left or the right? Should I be wearing my sapphire on the left or the right? Should I be wearing diamonds on the left or the right? Should I be wearing lapis on the left or the right? Should I be wearing lapis on my index finger or my ring finger? What should I wear on my ring finger? What should I wear on my ring finger if I'm committed to a partner? I'm not going to say married. And by the way, I don't talk about marriage. I talk about commitment because I'm going to say this. I am married legally, like in front of God and everybody. Okay. I don't think marriage is necessarily that important. And it probably sounds funny as somebody who's ordained. I marry people like I'm a minister, right? But I'm not. Maybe it's my Sag moon. I'm not the biggest proponent of marriage, but I am a big proponent of relationship. And so I think when I say like wedding ring, I'm not really talking about you going to an actual place or having somebody say that you're married, right? I'm more about commitment. So there are certain fingers that are better for your commitment rings than others. So that's something I want you to think about too. And I'll tell you the story about that. And I'll tell you, so here's where I want to start for tonight, okay? Because there was a little bit of confusion in our groups. Now, hopefully for Lisa and Francine and other people who had questions, I think we resolved all of this. I went live earlier today in our Facebook group, our Crystal Masters Facebook group, to clarify. But I want to take a minute just to re-clarify for anybody who has questions. And I want to tell you, if you're new to Crystal Masters, I was a teacher for almost 20 years before I started Sage Goddess. Like, I am a trained professor. There are no dumb questions. You can ask me anything you want. I'm an open book, and I don't mind repeating myself, okay? I'm an expert in adult learning, so I'm here to teach you. If you have a question, ask it. If I don't get to your question today, put it in the Facebook group. I'll address it there. Do you know what I mean? Questions, my method of teaching is called inquiry-based teaching, and it's based on questions. So I love it when you bring questions. I may not have the exact right answer to your question, but I always try to get you an answer. So don't hesitate if you have a question, and you can ask your questions as many times as you want. You know what I mean? I'm here for it. So, and I do love jewelry. I mean, I really have a love affair with it. I'm a collector. When I was young, my mom introduced me to Elizabeth Taylor. My mom loved Elizabeth Taylor. Do I have any Elizabeth Taylor fans in the house? I have the book of her jewelry. Do you have it? If you know how sometimes when it comes to be like your birthday or a holiday and you're like, I don't know what I want. I don't know if I just want a crystal or if I want something else. If you're ever looking for a good coffee table book, there's a book of Elizabeth Taylor's jewelry, and it's fantastic. I mean, she had the diamond, right? The charm bracelet, which I'm actually trying to design a version of her charm bracelet for SG, okay? If you want to know what my end all be all is, one day I want to have a charm bracelet like Liz Taylor's. And I'm trying to get to a point where we can make it for SG. So I'm a huge Liz Taylor fan. My mom looks like Liz Taylor. When she was young, people thought she was Liz Taylor. She used to get like mistaken for her, which is really crazy. But anyway, I love Liz Taylor. I love her jewelry. I love her relationship with her husband, who she married twice, because I think that's awesome. Like, it's so real, isn't it? That you would be married to somebody and then like all of a sudden like not really be into them, but yeah, you're totally into them, so you marry them again. Like, All of that really makes sense to me. So anyway, there's a coffee table book of her jewelry, and if you ever just want, like, if somebody's trying to buy you a gift and you don't know what to tell them you want the book on Liz Taylor's jewelry. You will have so much fun going through that book. You can probably get a used copy on Amazon for like not that much. Cartier's coffee table book. I have long studied Harry Winston's jewelry. I study couture jewelry, and not because I own it. I don't own it. I don't own a Harry Winston piece of jewelry, but I study it because I am fascinated by how they do what they do, why they do it. Harry Winston is famous for double prongs and the rings, which I think is absolutely beautiful. It's way more expensive, right, when you do double prongs. Harry Winston is famous for two-tone jewelry, gold prongs and a platinum or 18-karat band. And I love two-tone jewelry. So what I'm saying is get into it. You know what I mean? And even though, so I don't own Liz Taylor's jewelry, I don't own Harry Winston jewelry, but I love looking at it because I'm always curious about these iconic brands. I studied the history of Tiffany and Company, and I've taught you a lot about it. Tiffany, the jewelry store, right? I'm fascinated by the Tiffany and Company story because Tiffany and Company sent jewelers to mines. You know about this, right? Like George Coons in the early 20th century was sent by Tiffany and Company to San Diego. Do you know this story? This is the origin story of Coonsite. So Tiffany and Company had George Coons, K-U-N-Z. George Coons was like the lead stone sourcing buyer for Tiffany and Co. Sent George Coons to Paula, right, which was north of San Diego, and he discovered Coonsite, right, which grows with tourmaline, because they had just found the Queen tourmaline at the Queen mine, right? It's a huge bicolor, blue cab, all the things tourmaline. So anyway, all this stuff is interesting to me. So if you wonder, like, where does her wisdom come from, or where did she learn all this stuff? I've been obsessed with jewelry since I was little. I've been obsessed with couture jewelry in particular. And again, not because I have it or I can afford it or anything, because I don't and I can't. But I'm just fascinated by what makes people make the choices they make. You know what I mean? And why are double prong special? Or why is now, Morgan, it's Paula, P-A-L-A. It's actually the Paula reservation. There's a Native American reservation. Of course, San Diego is all reservation land. Do you know the history of San Diego? So the Kumeyaay Indians settled in San Diego. And so if you look at the reservation map of San Diego, greater San Diego County, including Imperial County to the east and sort of Orange County to the north, you'll see the map of the reservation land. So Paula, P-A-L-A, is actually a reservation. There's an amazing casino, amazing hotel, and there's a mine. And it's an active tourmaline mine. And it's actually open. I took my team there, and we mined together for my birthday when we first moved to LA, and actually took them to the Paula Casino for dinner and drinks after we mined. That was my birthday party. So anyway, Alpine is beautiful. Trina D, I've been to Alpine so many times. Alpine is one of my sacred places in San Diego because it's a very hidden place. Not a lot of people know about it, but the hills just sing, and it backs up right against reservation land, against the Kumeyaay Nation and the Paula Reservation. So anyway, Sharon's like, am I in the correct link? She's probably wondering because we're talking about reservation land and not about rings. But Paula, you're in the right place if you're here for or Sharon, you're in the right place if you're here for Crystal Masters. Yeah, so you know what I say? You know, research the good jewelers, research couture jewelry, look at their settings, get inspired by that, and that's what works for me, and I get excited about it. So tonight is all about sacred adornment and how and why we got there. So I want to start here, and I'm going to show you this. I miss San Diego. We lived there for 10 years, and we didn't want to leave. We left San Diego because Dave was taking an executive role. Dave's background is in tech marketing, so he had to move to Silicon Valley. And so we left San Diego to go to Silicon Valley, but I cried the whole way. I love San Diego, so anyway, it's very near and dear to my heart. Ooh, Teresa's still waiting on her ring. We mailed those weeks ago, so hopefully USPS hasn't lost your ring. Let me know if I can help you with that. I know. Okay, so this is where I want to start. So the mudras and palmistry. So some of you were asking questions, and I don't blame you, but I want to explain the confusion, okay? You will see the elements represented differently on different worksheets, okay? If you are looking at the Indian system, okay, that really comes to us from ancient Indian, and I mean coming from India. This is not Native American. This is ancient Indian, Hindu correspondences, okay? Which, if you're learning yoga, if you're learning mudras, remember when I taught you mudras last year? It was like over a year ago now, okay? If you are learning the ancient Indian systems, you're going to learn the elements a little bit differently than if you are looking at our current worksheets, where we are teaching more of the palmistry that's based in astrology. The ancient Indian system is not based in Western astrology. Does that make sense? So for all of you who are asking, like, wait a minute, why is water over here and air is over there? Okay, we are focusing on palmistry and astrology, which is a Western model of the correspondences. When I was teaching you about mudras, we were focusing on an Eastern model. They're different. So the number one thing I want to tell you, okay, is you got to kind of choose, unless you're willing to learn both, okay? I taught palmistry last year too, but people got confused anyway, okay? So these worksheets are in your Facebook group, and they are also in your classroom page. And any technical questions, Alexis, would you mind jumping in for me and responding? Because it's a little easier for me if you can handle the technical, like, where are these questions, and then I can focus more on the content part so that we don't get too sidetracked. But Alexis will answer all your questions about where to find this and where to find this, because she posted them both for you. So if you're looking for these and you haven't been in the Facebook group, or if you haven't been on the classroom page, Alexis is going to be your new BFF to find both of those, okay? Now, you don't really have to choose if you're willing to learn both. I like to know both, okay? So I can kind of roll with both, but if you're like, wait a minute, it says air over there and then air over here, and why is that happening? If it makes you nervous, okay, what I would say is choose West or East and kind of go with it. That way you're not going to get, as my mom would say, discombobulated, because it's a little discombobulating, okay? You want to learn both? So Joan's having trouble finding a printable version. So yeah, so Alexis, if you can help Joan, she's looking for a printable version of these sheets, and Alexis is all over that and will help you. So Siren of the Void, I apply both. Do you want to learn how? Give me a show of hands, would you mind? How many of you are open to kind of learning how I do it tonight, which is both? I just don't want to confuse you. But I use both. I use them for different reasons, because I do mudra. So, and mudra is not Western, it's Eastern. But when it comes to jewelry, I use Western correspondences. You ready for both? I'm kind of ambidextrous. Okay. If you're down for both, we can do both. And what's kind of cool about this is, if people, you're going to encounter other people. I'm not going to be your last teacher. I'm probably not your first, and I won't be your last. So you're going to encounter people who are like, no, 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 no. Air element is always the index finger. My goal for you tonight as a crystal master, because I'll tell you, there are other crystal healing classes out there. My goal is to train you as a master of crystals. And I know that's a big goal. But at the end of the year, when I certify you as a crystal healer and a crystal master through my program, this is more than just, do you know what aquamarine's for? Do you know that it's hexagonal? And do you know that it comes from Pakistan and Brazil? That to me is not the definition of a crystal healer. The definition of a crystal healer isn't, do you know that aquamarine is aligned to the throat chakra and it helps to connect you with open expression, and that's ruled by Mercury? That's not even a crystal master to me. My goal is to take you from there to, so what can we do with aquamarine? Because it doesn't matter to me if you know it's a throat chakra stone. If I put a client right there on the bed, do you know what to do then? Do you know what to do? Like, okay, so aquamarine's for the throat chakra and it comes from Pakistan and it's hexagonal. That's not enough. You have to be able to know how to work with those crystals in order to bring the healing to the person, to give them a lived experience. So when I say crystal masters, it's knowing the properties of your stones, knowing the structures of your stones, and then knowing also what to do with your stones. So that if you have someone laying here and they've got a block, that you would have some automatic recommendations, suggestions, tips, techniques, practices that you could do immediately to shift the energy, okay? So my intention with this class, I know it's ambitious, but I really believe that you're ready for a holistic experience. Because when I have, I had a crystal healing session with somebody who was certified by another program. And I have nothing bad to say about any other programs because I think they're all relatively good, okay? But I had a crystal healing session with someone who was trained in one of the primary crystal healing classes that you hear about. And I didn't have a good experience. And that's actually what led me to create Crystal Masters. Because when I said to this person, I don't just want a chakra alignment. I really want to understand how to heal my solar plexus. She didn't know what to tell me. She gave me a citrine. You know what I mean? She didn't really know what to tell me to heal my issues around power and will. And so I left kind of feeling better. I mean, I felt lighter and a little bit happier, but I really didn't know what to do when I got home to shift that energy. So tonight, my goal is that you will know how to use jewelry, rings, bracelets, necklaces, to shift someone's energy if they come to you, and not just for one thing, but for a multiplicity of things. So I'm not as streamlined as some crystal healing teachers. I know some of them are a little bit more direct and they focus on certain things. Like, I'm a little more ADHD in my approach, but I want you to be a holistic healer. I don't want you to just be somebody who goes by the book and puts the crystals on the chakras and poof, it's done. Because for me, that didn't cross the line. Does that make sense? So it's a little bit different. She did not give me mudras, but she was trained. And I had a great experience. I felt very relaxed. I felt very calm. I thought she was well-intentioned. I thought she was well-trained. But I walked away going, I got nothing for my solar plexus. Do you know what I mean? So let's go in tonight and see what we can do. With mudras, with the stones, with the planetary alignments, right? There's so much we can do just tonight with everything that we're doing. It has to be enough. And then you're going to activate your own wisdom. And every month I teach you something kind of different, right? So this month we're doing jewelry, but next month we're working with orgonite and double terminated wands, and we're moving energy through the entire system. So, and then in May we're doing a prosperity grid. So if somebody comes to you and they're like, I don't have enough money, how do I bring more wealth into my life? Again, to me, that's not so much a chakra issue as it is an energy and a space issue. So we're going to get into that too. So we're really covering a wide swath of territory this year, and I hope you're ready for it. Okay, so we're going to start with a little bit of the history of sacred adornment. Are you ready? And what I've been doing with my classes, just so you know, is I'm really focusing on teaching for the first at least half hour, 45 minutes. So I'm not going to look at the feed as much. You're welcome to look at the feed. I'm going to hold answers to your questions until the end of our time together. So if you want to focus on the feed, you totally can. But for the purposes of teaching, I'm really going to be focusing just on you for the next half hour to 45 minutes so I can get as much of our content ready. A reminder for new people, you don't have to take notes. We take notes for you, and we'll post those notes. So all you have to do is sit back and relax and enjoy and learn. And then at the end, if you have questions, I will be so happy to take your questions and answer them too. And I'm really glad you're here. Okay. So going back to the beginning, and this is your tool for tonight. Okay, what we did for you, this is a sterling silver ring that has been overlaid with gold, pure gold. And they did a really nice job on it. It's not going to rub off on your skin or anything like that. And it's adjustable. So you can open your ring up and make it bigger. Or you can pinch your ring closed and make it smaller. I've been wearing mine, just so you know, as a pinky ring, like that. But you can wear it, and after I teach you tonight, I want you to make a conscious choice about which finger you choose to wear it on. You can also wear it as a what I call a top ring, which goes above your knuckle. And a few of you have chosen to do that, and I think that's kind of sexy too. Have you seen people do that, where they don't push it past that first knuckle, they leave it on top? And if you pinch it closed, it's not going to come off, and it actually becomes this really cool second ring on your fingers, because we only have 10 fingers, unfortunately. And you know me, I wear rings on almost every finger. So you can really choose with your lapis ring how you choose to do it. Well, that's interesting, Tosh. Yeah, I shouldn't have turned your finger green, because it's gold. It's not copper. I have a friend who makes me copper rings. But it just might be something in your pH or something. It is pure gold over the top, so should not be turning your finger. You've been wearing it on your pointer finger on your left hand. Well, again, tonight I'll teach you, and then you can kind of decide if that's where you want to leave it. You might decide that you've been totally wearing it exactly where you wanted it. I'll also tell you, it's a super cute toe ring. It's a super cute toe ring. My toes are not really pretty right now, and I haven't painted them because I'm really bad at painting my toes. So don't judge me. I don't do well. Honestly, it looks like somebody was painting them with their eyes closed when I do it. That's not my gift. I know what my gifts are, and I should not be doing pedicures for anybody. It is a really cute little toe ring. So that's up to you too. You have it on your toe? I love that. Aw, I love that so much. Okay. And thumb rings are great too. Okay, so beginning in Egypt, okay? Men and women have always worn jewelry since we have written record, okay? In Sumeria and Mesopotamia, adornment and the wearing of jewelry really began as a form of identification. Did you know this? I'm actually having someone work on Sage Goddess signet rings right now. Do you know what a signet ring is? A signet ring, and some of you got the wax seals that we had, you know, where you melt the wax and you put the seal on it. A signet ring is, and I don't have one here to show you. I have a signet ring, but I don't have it here to show you. A signet ring would be sort of like this, like the tag on your peacock pendulum, right? Where it would say SG, and then you would put that into the wax and you would seal it, and that would have your name, like your family name. So what they used to do, right, in ancient times, is they would create an image of your family name or your family crest or your family symbol or whatever it was. They would put it on a ring, and then you would wear that ring, traditionally on your ring finger, because this is your power finger. And we'll talk more about that in a minute, because remember that that's your leadership finger, right? Your Jupiter finger. Jupiter fingers is leadership, optimism, confidence, power. So they would wear that on their ring finger, their confidence finger, their power finger, and then they would seal their documents with it. Isn't that cool? So, and even if we don't end up doing signet rings for you, if you reach out to jewelers, there's quite a few jewelers like on Etsy who do custom signet rings. They'll do it with your initials. Isn't that beautiful? And then you can choose kind of a custom color of wax, and then whenever you seal your letters, you can use your ring to do it. And that's how the kings and queens, and all the way going back to ancient Sumeria and Mesopotamia. Yeah, the index finger. Sorry, did I say ring finger? Yes, index finger. Your pointer fingers. Yeah. So that's important for you to know, because these fingers, a lot of people don't wear rings on these fingers anymore. I do, because I know the history and the lineage. And so I'm hoping after tonight you're going to get excited about thumb rings, you're going to get excited about pointer finger rings, and not just ring finger rings. The main reason that people started wearing rings on their ring fingers, do you know this? The main reason, and it turns out not to be true, is that there was a rumor that there was this vein called the vena amorosa. I wrote it down for you so I wouldn't forget. Vena. Where did I write it? I think it's vena amorosa. Now I can't find it. I think it's vena amorosa, which means the love vein. So in ancient Rome and ancient Greece, there was this rumor that there was a vein in this finger, especially on your left hand, that ran from here all the way to your heart and would keep you faithful to your partner. So people started wearing wedding rings on their ring finger, their left ring finger, because they believed there was a vena amorosa that would connect directly to their heart, and it's not true. So I thought that was really interesting to share with you, because like I love the concept that we've got some like heart vein or love vein and it connects right to our heart, but unfortunately that's not true. But starting in Sumeria and Mesopotamia, everybody wore jewelry, men, women. We don't have a lot of, I try to be really inclusive when I talk about men and women, especially in modern day. I try to talk about people who are transgendered or have other sexual identifications. Just so you know, I try to be really inclusive. We have people in our community, and that's important to them. It's important to me. But when I talk about Sumeria and Mesopotamia, I tend to say he and she. There wasn't a lot of conversation about people who were transgendered back in those ancient civilizations. So if you hear me using primarily masculine and feminine pronouns instead of he, she, they, it wasn't a popular identification. People in Sumeria and Mesopotamia identified as male and female. And so when I talk in more modern terms, I try to really make sure I'm inclusive. But sometimes when I'm talking about ancient civilizations, I don't use those pronouns a lot because they weren't part of the vernacular, if that makes sense. So when I say men and women wore rings back in ancient Sumeria and Mesopotamia, it's not to say that there weren't people who were transgendered, and I'm not sure exactly what their behaviors were, because the reality is we don't have record. I don't think it was widely discussed at the time, and we don't have written record from people who were sort of in between genders. But what I will say is men and women in Sumeria and Mesopotamia wore rings on every finger. They wore earrings in both ears. I've never been one of those people where it's like if you have an earring over here, it means this, but if you don't have an earring here, it means that. But if you wear a ring on your thumb, it means that. But even not a ring on that thumb, it means this other thing. I really try. Thank you, Jake, for that. I really make an effort. I sincerely do. But sometimes when I don't say it, it's because historically we don't have like an anchor for it. You know what I mean? So I do my best, but I just want to make sure I'm being inclusive for you guys too. And for me too. I mean, it's important for me collectively. It's important for my kids and the world they're growing up in to be as inclusive as I can. So my main point to you is I feel like people who identify as male today, and you tell me if this has been your experience, don't wear jewelry as much and see it as like a feminine thing. And I want to disrupt that, because if we look back at our ancient historical records, it was not a gendered thing. It wasn't like, oh, if you identify as male, you don't wear jewelry, but if you identify as female, you do. King Tut, can we just have a conversation about King Tut for a second? King Tut wore more jewelry in a day than I wear in a month. I mean, King Tut was like stacked, right? And the most powerful person in Egypt. And in fact, his whole focus through most of his life was on his death. He was really focused on what jewelry he was going to wear, not just during his living days, but what he was going to wear after he died, because to the Egyptians, right, it was everything. If you had the right jewelry, you got into the after party club. You know what I mean? Bouncer didn't kick you out. The music was right. If you didn't have the right jewelry, you were bounced out of the afterlife club. You could not get in, even if you were with the right people. So it was this whole big thing of like, am I going to get into the afterlife club, or am I going to get bounced out of the afterlife club? And I'm totally serious. King Tut was like, I'm in the club. You know what I mean? I'm in the club now. I'm going to be in the club then. And so he actually, it's true, he died very young, but he was very smart. He sent people into the Saharan desert to retrieve Libyan gold tektite and had it carved into scarabs, because what are scarabs associated with? Rebirth. And so he really believed that to get into the afterlife club, he was going to have a scarab. And he believed it had to be carved out of Libyan gold tektite. Now, why is that? We don't have access to all of that, right? We're still... I'll tell you why hieroglyphs are so hard to translate. Do you know why hieroglyphs are so hard to translate? There are two languages on this planet that are almost impossible to translate: hieroglyphics and Sanskrit. Do you know why that is? It's fascinating to me as a linguist, okay? Both of these languages, hieroglyphics, which we believe came from Thoth, who's one of the main gods in the alchemical pantheon, and Sanskrit. Okay, both of these languages, ancient languages, both are dead languages, right? The hieroglyphics and Sanskrit. Each character in those languages has a meaning, and then when you put the characters together, it has a separate meaning. So you can have 3 different characters in Sanskrit and in hieroglyphics that they're ideograms, that's right. So each character has a meaning on its own, but if you put those 3 characters together, they mean some other word. So it's like, I mean, how do you learn that, right? You constantly have to be reading in multiple different ways. You have to read the individual characters, and you have to go back and you have to read the characters together and figure out what the ideogram means, right? So if you have a glyph that represents bird, and a glyph that represents creativity, and a glyph that represents menstruation, then you put those 3 together and you're like, a creative menstruating bird? I mean, you don't know, right? Greek isn't as ideogrammatic like that, but it's definitely has some of that energy too, and it's very much like Chinese, right, where each of the characters means something, and then you put the characters together. It's right. So anyway, these are why and kanji too. These are why these languages are so beautiful, but they're also really impossible to translate, and there's so much room for misinterpretation, because you might be getting the individual characters right, but then you might be getting the ideogram wrong. Whoops. So anyway, it's beyond my pay grade. I am not here to be a translator of Sanskrit or hieroglyphics or kanji or, any of that for you. It's not my job today. But I do want to tell you that all of this is involved in how we come to understand jewelry. Okay, so men and women in ancient times wore jewelry in equal proportion. It was not a feminine thing. It wasn't like men went, oh, that's a bracelet, that's more for women. And jewelry, if you had jewelry, you had money. And if you had jewelry, you had a family name. And if you had a family name, you wanted that name on as much as you could get it on. Meaning, the clay when your house was being built had your signet. The contracts that you signed had your signet. Anything that you made, anything that you created, anything that you expanded, if you wrote a poem into clay, you signed it, okay? So it was really important to have your symbol, and that's why jewelry wasn't just like, hey, check out my, or whatever. It was like, these are my identities. And so when I leave my mark on things, it's literally me saying I was here, so that thousands of years ago, or even hundreds of years ago, there's a way of me kind of staking my claim, or you staking your claim. I want you to think for just a second. You ready? On this planet, somewhere, there is something that you signed thousands of years ago with your own signet. I believe this to be true. Somewhere, there's a tablet, could be buried in the sands of Iraq, modern day Iraq, which is Ur, right, which is Mesopotamia. Somewhere there's a stone, and there's a marking in that stone, and you, in one of your many lifetimes, took that ring and cast it into that clay. And the sands have moved over it for thousands of years, and your ancestors have risen and fallen, and your bones are somewhere almost completely decimated, right? And yet somewhere your name exists. I promise you that's true. Because all of us have had past lives, and all of us have had some way of imprinting our signature on the sands of time. I'm telling you, it's an incredible thing. So if you want to know why I'm so passionate about this, when you put on a ring, when you create a signet, if I was to ask you tonight, and I just want you to sit with this, you don't have to do it. If you want some homework, I love giving homework. I used to be a teacher. I love it. If you want homework, if I could assign you homework, I would ask you this week to sit down and design your signet. And I would want you to get a little soft before you do it, light a candle, have some Blue Lotus tea, or whatever softens you up a little bit, burn some mugwort, and ask yourself, what has my symbol always been? And have it made into a ring that you start signing your letters with. That maybe you create products, right? So maybe you use it as your logo, or you sign your, you make stickers out of it, and you sign your, I don't know what it is for you. But I want you to think about, what was that symbol for you, and can you almost imagine it? There is a stamp there's a signet ring for Athena, the goddess. And every time I see it, like I draw in my breath, it's very familiar to me. It says AOE on it. It looks like AOE. They're Greek letters. And the little owl. If you ever Google that, you'll see it. And that's what I'm having made into a signet ring, because when I see that, my soul recognizes that. But see, it's like a sigil that you created years ago, right? So I think this would be really cool for you. Yeah, so take your name and play with it. You can make a sigil out of it. Wouldn't that be really fun? And honestly, Katie, it doesn't surprise me that it makes you emotional, because I'm talking about your soul's history. And I'm not the only one who has lineage in Sumeria and Mesopotamia and ancient Greece and Rome. You do too. And so somewhere, some part of you is listening to me right now going, I think I know what she's talking about. I'm not totally sure, but I think I have an idea of it. Now, in ancient Greece and ancient Rome, and then let's go back to Egypt and Sumeria and Mesopotamia, the most important jewelry wasn't on your hands or your wrists, it was on your chest. Well, why is that? Well, the Sumerians and the Mesopotamians, really believed that the closer you got your jewelry to your physical heart, and think about it even today in terms of the chakra system, right? So the heart chakra is the fourth chakra of the 7 in your body. So you have root, sacral, and solar plexus. There's 3 below it. And then you have crown, third eye, and throat, 3 above it. And then they all sort of collapse in this sandwich around the heart chakra, which is the 4th chakra, which is the number 4 is all about firm foundation, creating a basis, right, for your study. So the Egyptians and the Mesopotamians believed breastplates too, right? So you wanted jewelry and adornment to be as close to your heart as possible. Even me, when I choose my necklaces and I layer them, right? Like the magician pendant comes the closest to my heart. So that's important to think about too. What are you wearing on your neck, and do you wear it every day? The jewelry that I'm wearing right now, minus my rings, because I do take my rings off, although, so I want to share with you my personal journey. This is the jewelry I never take off. I always wear the bracelets. I never take them off. Shower, whatever, even MRI, which I have to do twice a year. I never take my thumb rings off. I take my necklaces off for MRI, but that's it, because they won't let me into the machine. But I leave my bracelets on and I leave my thumb rings on. And then I only take this off twice a year for MRI. Otherwise, these necklaces stay on, because these are, this necklace was a gift from Dave. This necklace is our Soul Shift graduation necklaces, and then inside of there, I don't know if you can see, is something that Zoe gave me, and then there's a little sunshine that my mom bought for me when I was 3. Maybe I was 2. Because she used to sing You Are My Sunshine. And then this little sapphire is from my son. This citrine is from one of my teachers. It was really important to me. This diamond was from my dad for my 18th birthday, and then this was a gift from Dave for Valentine's Day. So these do not come off. So I think it's important for you to ask yourself, is there some jewelry that you wear that you don't want to take off because it's just sort of part of who you are? I mean, to the point where, like, one day when I leave this planet, I actually want to leave with these things. I don't even want to leave these to people. I know that sounds so strange, but these are so important to me that I feel very Egyptian about it. Like, I want to take these, I know you can't really take it with you, but I want to take these into the afterlife. I never take off these. I shower with them, I blow my hair dry with them, I get freaky with them. I never take them off. And I honestly, one day, like, when we set up our estate and will and everything a few years ago, they were asking, like, are there people that you want to leave those things to? And I'm like, is it bad that I don't? Like, I want to take them with me. So anyway, I share all of that with you because I think it's just, I think you should start to look at your adornment as the way the Egyptians did, which is, this is part of who you are, right? It's part of, like, these things carry so much of my energy and my frequency. These rings that are on my fingers, this particular ring, I can't take my thumb rings off, but just to tell you some stories, right? This ring at the bottom, you see that one right there? It's nothing special, okay? In terms of, like, it's not expensive. I think I paid like $20 for it when I got it. But that ring is silver and gold. And when I bought that ring, isn't that interesting? I love hearing your stories too. When I bought this ring, this one, I was at a real low point. Like, I had really lost faith. And I had just been diagnosed with MS. Let me see if I can get it to focus on me. There we go. I had just been diagnosed with MS, and I had really lost faith in myself, in my future. You know how when you have a real health problem, it's like hard to see past it because it's just like, it's all you can think about when you're struggling, right? And I remember walking into a store, and it was right at the beginning of all of that, and I didn't have any money, but I knew, I just thought, every time I look at that ring, I'm going to remember, like, my disease isn't me, right? I'm not this disease. And when I look at that ring, I'm going to have hope that maybe there's a way, because it was like these two metals kind of like dancing with each other. Do you remember? And I've never taken it off, like, ever since that time. Not even for MRI. Like, I never take it off. Even if a doctor says, I'd really like you to take all the rings off for your x-ray, I'm always like, not that one. I physically can't get it off, which helps too. But anyway, I think it's good to have some adornment that you don't take off that says, you know what, I'm bigger than this. I'm bigger than my divorce or my health challenge or my the loss I'm going through. Like, I'm bigger than these things. And I think if you can, right? I think if you can have something that represents that to you, like when I look at that ring now, I feel gratitude because I remember being in that place and just thinking, this was my gesture of hope to myself, right? Like, we can get through this. I know we can get through this. And now I look back and I'm like, we got through it. You know what I mean? We're different now, but we got through it. So tattoos function much the same way. Yeah, it's really true. And people have asked me to recreate this ring. You know what's funny about this ring? I don't want to digress too much. But what's funny about this ring is I tried to have this ring made for you. And because the price of gold and silver has, like, skyrocketed, they can't do it. Like, they can't do it for the same amount that I paid. So I haven't had it made for you because it's just too expensive. And I think it should be really affordable. So I'm kind of waiting till the price of metals goes down a little bit. And then I'm going to try to have this made again. Because I tried to have it made last year. And the price of gold and silver, I don't know if you watch the price of metals, but the price of gold and silver during the pandemic is like... So I'm like, I'm going to wait till the price of metals comes down, maybe in 2022, which is what they're predicting. And then I'll try to have my ring made for you because I don't want to charge very much for it. But anyway, I share all this with you because when I look at my stuff, like it has real meaning for me. And then the believe ring we made for Sage Goddess, because that's my word. And then the star sapphire was from Shram. And Shram's another one, right? Like, I sometimes buy jewelry from people because I love their energy. Have you ever had that happen? So I met Shram. I was in Tucson. Shram, you guys have gotten jewelry from Shram too, because he makes jewelry now for our Sage Goddess gem sales. But I walked into Shram's little booth in Tucson 4 or 5 years ago, something like that. And honestly, like, I mean, I know him. Like, my soul knows his soul. We had this immediate thing. And I literally was like, I can't take you home, so I need this ring. So I can have your energy with me. Because he's a healer. And so I literally bought this little thumb ring. I loved it. I thought it was beautiful. But I also just knew I wanted to carry him with me every day. So that's kind of what it is too. You know, you get connected to your jewelry, you get connected to the people who make it, and it brings you the energy you need to get through your life, whatever your life is asking for you. I love that too, AJ. So anyway, he's really special. But you know, I mean, I only bring you jewelry from really special people, but their energy is imprinted when they make things, right? So I think that's really cool too. Okay, now, so for the Egyptians, the Mesopotamians, the Sumerians, right? Oh, I love that. It is. If you got a sapphire cabochon from me, it's from Shram, because I've never had them from anybody else. If you want to have it set into a ring, please do send it back to me, and I'll send it to Shram. I'll have him set it for you. He would love to do that, by the way. And I mail him stuff all the time, so send it back to me, to Sage Goddess, with a note, and I'll send it to Shram for you. Yeah. Okay, so it was social status to the Egyptians and the Sumerians and Mesopotamians, and it was afterlife security. That's it. It was, I have a family name, I've got a little bit of money, I'm trying to make it to the afterlife. That was Sumerian, Mesopotamia, and Egyptian jewelry. It was all about status and energy, right? And it was about also making sure you got to the afterlife. So for the Egyptians, they loved anything that was green, because green represented prosperity and fertility. I want you to remember, right now I'm talking about Sumeria, Mesopotamia, and Egypt, so this is more on the Western history side of things. I want you to remember that for the Sumerians and Mesopotamians in particular, and Egyptians too, remember that Sumerians and Mesopotamians, where that whole region of the world is called the Fertile Crescent. Do you guys know the history of Sumeria and Mesopotamia? I've taught you about it, but some of you might be new. So those countries were in a region now that we know as Iraq, okay? And there are two rivers, the Tigris River and the Euphrates River, that create what we call the Fertile Crescent. And in Egypt, the big fertile river, of course, is the Nile. So the Tigris, the Euphrates, and the Nile, if those rivers were high and full and running, they had fertility because they could grow crops. If those rivers were barren and dry and not great, then they were poor because they couldn't grow crops. It literally, in Sumeria, Mesopotamia, and Egypt, it was as simple as that. If the Tigris, Euphrates, and Nile rivers were full, we're good. If the Tigris, Euphrates, and the Nile rivers are empty, we're not good. And so jewelry was really representing these energies of fertility. So green and blue colors to the Sumerians, Mesopotamians, and the Egyptians meant prosperity because it's associated with water. That's right. So Iraq, Iran, and Turkey are all the regions. And it's funny because my kids too, Lauren, were just studying all of this. My son just went through it 2 years ago, and then my daughter just learned it this year. And so when she got to her chapter on Mesopotamia, she comes running to me and she goes, "You know this. You need to teach me." And I'm like, "Have you read about the Fertile Crescent yet? Come back to me when you know about the Fertile Crescent." So my kids both aced their social studies chapters on Sumeria, Mesopotamia. My son just did one on India, where he was learning all about the ancient Indian cultures and stuff. It's fascinating stuff, right? And the scarab was significant because, again, the scarab represented rebirth. So if you had a scarab, like King Tut had his scarab carved out of Libyan tektite, and then the rest of his breastplate was all lapis. So we're going to talk about that. So scarabs were rebirth, lapis was power, gold was considered to be the skin of the gods. Did you know that? Gold to the Egyptians, Mesopotamians, and the Sumerians is the skin of the gods. So Katie, hang tight because I'm getting there, girl. I'm giving you a little bit of like, I'm doing that professor, like giving you the background first, and then we're going to get into all the fingers. Okay, so I'm just giving you context, and then I'm going to drill down into the specifics. So just give me like 5 or 10 minutes, and I'll be right there getting to those questions too. Okay. Now, the Sumerians and Mesopotamians did begin to use glass. And I'm telling you this because the Romans, the Greeks did too. Roman glass actually is very expensive. And so I don't want you to kind of turn up your nose at glass. I know a lot of us look at gemstones as being so much more valuable, right? Because they are than glass, right? We look at glass as being cheap or like mass produced. But a lot of the glass that was being produced in Sumeria and Mesopotamia was really beautiful. And they did a lot of signet rings in glass, and they used glass to do what we call the cylinder seals, right, which had the family name and the family crest and everything. So gold color. What I'm talking about is gold metal. The actual gold metal was considered the skin of the gods, and it was the most precious and prized material. It has always been, by the way. Okay. I love silver too, and I know a lot of you are silver lovers, but you're always going to see me wearing gold. Half my chains are gold, my bracelets on this arm are gold, my thumb ring, 2 of my thumb rings are gold. I did your lapis ring in gold because if I was doing this ring for ancient Egyptians and I did it in silver, they would be like, literally they wouldn't believe that this would get them into the afterlife. If I were to do this for them in silver. So I have quite a few customers who I adore, who are, whenever I do anything in gold, they're like, I love it, Athena. When are you doing it in silver? And I'm always like, never, because silver in the ancient civilizations was not prized. It truly was not. And it's not that it's not important, and it's certainly in alchemy it's important. But when I really focus on these ancient civilizations, I'm always going to bring you gold because of that. Now, Indians love gold. My Sona, who used to work for me, she's retired, but Sona means gold, and she loves gold. I mean, every Indian person I've ever known loves gold. I'm talking about Indian people from the Indian continent, from the Indian country, not Native Americans or indigenous people, who do actually really enjoy a mix of silver and gold. But gold is the magic and the power for people from ancient civilizations. Okay. Let's see. So we have Sumeria, Mesopotamia, we have Egypt, we have the Greeks, and we have the Celts. We have the Greeks and the Romans, and we have the Celts. Okay. The Greeks were the master goldsmiths, and the the Romans. Okay, they were the super able to work gold. They were able to find it and mine it and work it and smith it and smelt it and make all of their materials, their jewelries, and everything else. So a lot of times too, if you're like, well, I don't know if I came from one of these ancient civilizations, if you really feel really connected to gold, it's likely you came from Sumeria, Mesopotamia, Egypt, Greece, Rome. Even the Celts really tended to privilege gold over silver. Now, the crown, the image of the crown, by the way, is fascinating to me too. So what the ancient Greeks used to do is they would take olive branches or laurel branches, the Romans, and they would take the long branch and they would dip it, they would tie it up into a crown, and then they would dip it in gold. And so it became a crown. But it wasn't really, that's where the idea of a crown came from. So if you were very wise in Rome, or if you won a contest, or if you, I don't know, won some kind of prize of valor, they would take an olive branch and, again, tie it around, make a circle, and dip it in pure gold. Or they would take a laurel branch tie it up and dip it in pure gold and put it on the head. There's a beautiful display. I want to say it's at the Victoria and Albert Museum now. I'm trying to remember where it is. I honestly can't remember where it is now. But they have an original olive leaf crown from ancient Greece that actually was on someone's funerary pyre. Can you believe that? It was actually on a body that was cremated because there's a little bit of the leaves are burned. But it didn't burn all the way through because gold resists, right? It didn't melt all the way down. So just the very edges of that beautiful olive leaf crown are burned. And so they know that came from someone's funerary pyre, which I thought was really incredible. So yeah, the Romans were more into the laurels and the Greeks were more into the olive crowns. They started to develop different techniques. The Greeks, the Romans, the Egyptians, they would they would take these long fibers of gold and braid them, or they would roll them into little balls and use the little balls all around. So this is what we start. These techniques that we know of as filigree and different kinds of settings that we think of today in modern jewelry really have their origins starting with the Greeks, the Romans, the Etruscans to a lesser extent, and the Sumerians and Mesopotamians too. Yeah. Okay. Now, any questions about that, by the way, before we move on? Because now I want to talk about lapis. What about gold leafing? Gold leafing I'm not as versed in, Danielle. I haven't done as much research on that. So that might be Asian as a tradition. The Greeks and the Romans did not do a lot of gold leafing. What they did tended to be solid. So on that, if you believe it's from Asia, you're probably right if you've done your homework, because I have not done as much research into gold leafing. I've done more research into the gold that's used where the jewelry is solid, or where they've taken plants and immersed them in gold, and and then use those for crowns and different kinds of tools. And copper origin, I don't have as much knowledge and insight into that either. I'm fascinated by it because I love copper as a metal. It's highly conductive, very, very healing, but it's not as much of my area of expertise. Yeah. And white gold is still gold. It's just for people who prefer white metals. Usually white gold is dipped. So most gold is yellow gold, and then when they want to give you a white gold ring, they dip it in rhodium, which is a platinum-like metal. And it's usually a permanent bonding, but sometimes the rhodium will wear off. But most white gold jewelry is still yellow gold. It's just been dipped into a rhodium. Yeah. And then sterling silver started to evolve in other parts of the world. It's more modern, right? But sterling silver was highly prized to indigenous people here in the United States, and certainly to Central and South Americans too. Mexico continues, in Taxco, Mexico, it continues to be really for me, the homeland of sterling silver crafting. And I love silver too. I mean, you're always going to see me wearing silver. A lot of my jewelry is silver. A lot of the jewelry that we make for Sage Goddess, my Moldavite ring is in silver. This ring that's coming in aquamarine and tanzanite is silver. Our ship basket ring's in silver. Our snake rings are in silver. Our shield ring is in silver and gold. My wedding ring is in white gold, which is 14 karat gold with a rhodium dip, right? So all of these things are really interesting. And silver is fantastic. Silver is associated with the moon, guys. And so let's go right into the fingers now, because I think this might be a good segue for us to move into, I think I brought the wrong... You know what, you guys? I have to leave you here for just a second because I brought the wrong handout up. Don't go anywhere. I'll be right back. Did you enjoy your break? Did Joseph start again while I was away? I don't hear him now. That was a wonderful intermission. Okay. Well, I'm glad you enjoyed the background music. Okay. So, where I want to go with you now. Okay. So, certain planets align more with silver. For example, Jupiter aligns more with silver. So if you took whiskey shot. Well, when the cat's away, the mice will play. So certain planets are more associated with other metals. I find that Jupiter and Saturn align really nicely with silver. And so a lot of people, even who love gold, will choose silver for their index finger, their pointer finger, and their middle finger. But then they'll choose gold for their ring finger. You know what I mean? Sometimes. So it just depends on the person, and some of it could be the planetary influence. So we talked about this earlier. So if you're looking at the Indian model, right, coming from the Vedas, and the ancient spiritual text from the Hindu tradition, you've got a different elemental correspondence for each finger than you do in the Western or astrological or palmistry model. Okay, so it kind of depends on how you align. And again, we're really focusing on palmistry tonight and astrology as opposed to the Indian mudras. I use the mudras more when I'm meditating, right? So if I'm meditating and I'm angry, okay, and I've got a lot of fire energy, I will want to bring in a balancing element. So if I got too much fire, I'm going to want to balance that with earth. Well, those are my ring fingers. So I'm going to do an earth mudra if I'm stressed. And I usually take 3 deep breaths. But that has less to do with the jewelry I'm choosing than the palmistry does, because I have to be careful. In palmistry and in astrology, the ring finger is the fire element associated with Apollo. So for a mudra, this is very grounding. But if I just have jewelry on my ring fingers, then all I'm doing is activating fire energy in the West. Does that make sense? So if I really want to calm myself down, I actually take my jewelry off of my ring fingers, and I will only put jewelry on my middle fingers. If you ever see me like this, I'm stressed and I'm having a tough day. And what do I need? Structure, stability. Does that make sense? And then what I'll usually do is put on my pointer finger rings, which I have 2 that I tend to go on that finger. And that'll be if I'm wanting to get grounded and stand in my leadership, right? So that brings fire and earth energies. But I'm going to activate more fire if I put rings on my ring finger, right? Yeah. Now, if you want, you have to remember, and I'm going to get to the triangle in just a second, if you want the triangle to represent the element of fire on your hand, you're going to wear it point up to the sky. And the best finger to wear it on is your ring finger on either hand with point up. You're never going to see me doing this because I don't need more fire in my chart, and I don't need more fire in my life. I'm always trying to direct my flames, quench my flames, okay? Does that make sense? So I tend not to wear my lapis ring on my ring finger pointing up because that's fire. The water element is where I wear it with the point down, and you will sometimes see me wearing it like this. Does that make sense? Now, I have been wearing it on my pinky finger, which is your finger, that's your Mercury finger. That's your finger of communication, intuition. And when I want to activate that, I will wear it point up on my pinky finger. And because my left hand is my receiving hand, that's the finger I've been wearing it on. I want to strengthen my intuition. Okay, how do I do that? I wear it point up on my pinky finger. So less fire is point up, or I should say more fire is point up, less fire is point down. That's right. So if I want less fire, but I want to stimulate my intuition, it's point down like that. Now there's an old, I shouldn't say old, it's kind of a wives' tale that if you have jewelry with a symbol, you should, if you want other people to enjoy it, the symbol should be facing them. If it's for other people, and if it's for you, it should be facing you. Does that make sense? My mom was a big proponent of this. So she would say, no. If you're wearing that triangle for other people, it's got to be the point facing you and the base facing away. Okay, but I don't follow that. I don't follow like, am I wearing it for you or wearing it for me? I base whether I'm wearing it for you or wearing it for me on which hand I'm wearing it on. Does that make sense? Because again, your right hand is your hand where you wear things for other people. All fire for other people. All water for other people on my communication finger. And this hand is me wearing it for me. All fire for me. All water for me. Does that make sense? So yeah, for sure. I mean, Blackbird's Merkaba, it's true. Because Blackbird's Merkaba said in modeling this is true. So if I'm taking a picture for a magazine, right, and I'm trying to show people a triangle ring, I need to think about how people are going to see that picture, and is it going to look like a triangle, or is it going to look like, that still looks like a triangle, but doesn't look like it's pointing away from them, right? So if I was modeling this, I would wear it like this, right? Unless I was modeling it like that. But don't wear your jewelry for other people based on the point up, point down, point in, point out. Think about it just as you're receiving and you're projecting hands. So again, your right hand is what you are wearing for other people. So what am I wearing for other people? And these are the rings I wear most days. You see me live, right? So I'm wearing Moldavite for other people so that they can have a connection with the spirit world. I'm wearing aquamarine and tanzanite so that other people can find emotional healing through the work that I do and activate their intuition. And I'm wearing amethyst for other people. But again, even that is a triangle, right? It's a trillion. So it's pointing toward me, whereas my mom would say, if I'm really wearing this for other people, I should be pointing it like that so it looks like a proper triangle. Yeah, your right hand is your projecting hand. Now, how do you know that? Your left brain is connected to your right hand. This is your objective, I always think of it as math. This is your objective, scientific, masculine. So that's your right hand. Your left hand is connected to your right brain, which is your more feminine, intuitive ways of knowing, right? More watery. And so your feminine hand is your left hand, right? That's your receiving. Because the feminine receives, the masculine projects. I don't think I have to do sex ed for you right now. But boys have a shooter, okay? And so this is how I taught my kids. I'm like, boys have a shooter. And so they're putting things out there, and girls have a cooter, and so they take things in. I'm not sure that I'm the best sex educator for you. And why am I talking about shooters and cooters? Because that helps you think about your projecting and your receiving hands. Right? So your left brain, borrowed if you like. It worked for my kids. They seem to know what's going on. It's shooters and cooters. What'd you learn in Crystal Masters tonight? I don't know. But this is how Athena taught her children about the birds and the bees. Shitters and cooters, everybody. Hashtag it's new. Okay, so anyway, your left side is your cooter side, and your right side is your shooter side. When I was done teaching my kids that, I asked them both, do you have any questions? And they both said no, which tells me that was perfectly clear. Shooters and Cooters would be a great restaurant name. It'd be a great winery name. I would love it if one of you guys could hurry up and open that, and then I will come to your restaurant and I will run your social media for you. I don't have time to make a bar or a restaurant, but I would love to, but I will totally support one of you who makes Shooters and Cooters your new business adventure. Okay. Do you know what's great about it? You're never going to forget it. Which one's your cooter hand? Which one's your shooter hand? And my work here is done. So we're not doing shooter and cooter bebops. I'm just telling you right now. I can't, a Team SG, their jobs are really weird enough. So if I were to go to them and say, hey, you know what? Last night was great. We came up with a new idea. Wondering if you could make a bebop for us. Okay, so back to business. I want to talk to you about lapis. I want to talk to you about triangles, and then we're going to activate our rings. Are you ready? I know. Are you more confused? No, Diana, help me. Help you. How are you more confused? Is it the shooter cooter part? Did that like kind of throw it off for you? Wasn't trying to make it worse. And then we're going to put a ring on it. That's right. What an interesting night. Not what you thought you signed up for, was it? I don't know. I remember my sex ed class. I was in 4th grade, and I thought that my shooter cooter lecture was much clearer than what they taught me. So, anyway. Okay, let me get serious with you again. Lapis lazuli. Ready? Lapis lazuli means blue stone. So, the ring that I've given you for this month, which is right here, has a lapis lazuli triangle. Since you're in Crystal Masters, I need to teach you all about this. Lapis lazuli is one of the most interesting stones to me, and I really want to teach you why. And you know what's really funny? I have like no lapis at Sage Goddess. Like even if you wanted lapis, I think I have 2 spheres. I barely have any tumbled stones left. I have almost nothing in lapis right now. And it's partly because of the pandemic. It's just been really hard to get it. I do have some of these rings, so if you missed it and you're like, I wish I'd gotten the ring, we do have some of those, and Alexis can help you with that. But, I mean, I have so little lapis in the house, it's ridiculous. So I can't make all your lapis dreams come true. But lapis is really special. So let me teach you about lapis. 6,000 years ago was when lapis started to be traded, okay? Meaning it came primarily from the Coquihha River Valley in Afghanistan, which to this day the Coquihha River Valley is still a mining location for lapis in Afghanistan. What you have to know, and I wrote Crystal Lore, I wrote one of the only crystal history books that is out there on the market, and I'm really proud of it. It took me 6 months to write it. I have PTSD from writing that book. It was the hardest thing I've ever done, and I wrote a doctoral dissertation. Writing a comprehensive book on the history of crystals, and it drives me crazy, just between you and me, that it's like under $20 on Amazon, because like literally in that book is my blood, sweat, and tears. When my publisher told me it was going to be like, I don't know, whatever it is, $14 on Amazon, I'm like, I spent 6 months writing that. So anyway, you can get it for like super cheap on Amazon, but so if you want a good crystal history book, it's there. I really did work very hard on it. But I'll tell you why, in all of my research, why lapis to this day still stands out as one of the most interesting stones I learned about in the process of researching that class. And I thought I knew everything about lapis, okay? I really did until I started researching. What we have to think about is the Silk Road, right? The trade routes between different parts of the Middle East and Egypt in particular. 6,000 years ago, they started trading lapis. And so it was being mined in this valley, in this river valley in Afghanistan, and they started mining it, and they had ample amounts. I mean, even to this day, we haven't mined out lapis. There's a ton of lapis. It's just it's available. Now there's different grades of lapis. Okay, what you're looking for in really good quality lapis is this. You want super deep blue, like that really true cayenne blue, and you want a little river of gold, which is your pyrite, okay? And that's the combination that makes lapis lapis. These pieces we were really picky about. Your rings are all made out of what's called this ocean lapis, which means it's not as dark. Sometimes lapis should be the color of the cover of the book, which this one is. Sometimes you'll find lapis that is like almost black. I don't have an example here to show you because I really don't like poor quality lapis. I'm very picky about it. But if you find it and it's too dark, or if it's too light, if the blue's washed out, it's not good quality. So just like your diamonds and every other crystal, lapis is graded. And the really good quality lapis has to have pyrite. It's got to be dark, like Katie says, or it has to be that really blue, ocean blue, like this one. But you don't want it to be too white. You don't want it to be washed out. You want it to have the intensity of color. So you should have at least a little speck of gold in it. So that's, I mean, it may not have a whole river of it, but there should at least be a speck of gold in your lapis ring. We really tried to make sure these are, yeah, it should only have a few specks of the pyrite. You're not going to find big rivers of it in these rings because the stone is small, but it should have at least a fleck of the pyrite in it, which tells you the quality. And then the color should be really intense. And again, somewhere between ocean blue and really dark blue is kind of where you want it. You don't want light. You don't want it to have big white patches. And sometimes you'll find lapis like that. So these came out really beautiful. We were really happy with the quality of them. The oldest epic in the world, which is the Epic of Gilgamesh, which again takes us back to the period of Sumeria, Mesopotamia, mentions it. And King Tut, so King Tut's funerary breastplate has that Libyan gold scarab in it for rebirth, but the rest of his entire breastplate is lapis. It's all lapis and Libyan gold. So to the ancient Egyptians, to King Tut, to Cleopatra, to Nefertiti, these were the most important materials they could work with. They were in pretty good supply. Cleopatra, as I've told you, really believed that this stone brought her power. She ground it up and then mixed it with water and made eyeliner out of it, which is a famous story. So if you ever see like the paintings of her or the pictures from the sarcophagus where she's got these big blue lines coming out of her eyes, that's crushed lapis. And if you see a big green line, that's crushed malachite. And because malachite and lapis grow together, so you find them in similar pockets. In fact, you'll find malachite with azurite and lapis. They're all ores of copper. Malachite is an ore of copper. Lapis you'll find near copper mines. And we know in Afghanistan at that time that copper was widely mined. And so that's part of the reason why. And now in Africa is where we see most of the azure malachite and the chrysocolla. All of those deposits now, the really big ones where most of the material's coming. Most of our lapis still comes from Afghanistan, even today. But most of our malachite, azurite, chrysocolla, dioptase all come from that Congo region of Africa, which is another big copper bearing. Isn't that cool? So anyway, so this is kind of the origin story of lapis. It's the oldest material ever traded. And if you had had this ring back in ancient Egypt, if you were a priestess, this ring would have been very valuable because lapis was more valuable than solid gold. So you actually could have traded this ring for a goat or a cow, which cows were very prized right throughout Egypt because cows have always been seen as symbols of prosperity and wealth and abundance. Or you could have traded it for land, or you could have traded it for food or anything. This would have been a very valuable piece for you to have in ancient Egypt. Okay, the triangle, let me teach you about the triangle really quick, and then I want to activate these with you. And I will tell you, if you find really nice lapis, you should buy it. COVID has put such a a restriction on what we're able to source, especially from the Middle East, because a lot of these places have just been shut down. India's been shut down. A lot of parts of Pakistan have been shut down. A lot of parts of Afghanistan have been shut down. So if you can find good lapis this year, you should get it. And you should hold on to it, because the prices are going up because of the fact that a lot of these valleys have been really hard hit by COVID. And a lot of these stones are mined by hand. So it's something for you to think about. So we're going to talk about fingers in just a second too. But last thing on triangles really quick before we talk about fingers and activate, because I'm going to tell you which fingers and then you're going to choose and we're going to activate, okay? Yeah, well, I've got mine point up. Yeah, I've got mine point up. But if you want to activate more of the water, remember we talked about water energy is point down towards your heart, and fire energy is point up away from your heart, so you can kind of choose your elemental balance based on which direction you put it, right? Okay. The triangle, here's the other reason I wear my triangles like this and not like this. Are you ready? And you see if this resonates with you or not, but it's going to change the way you look at your triangles. In Egypt, what they believed, the reason they built their pyramids like this, and that's the reason I chose a triangle for you from lapis, because this is obviously the formation of the pyramid. The Egyptians believed that we had to rest on earth. I don't know why it always makes me emotional to share this, but it does. The Egyptians believed that we were human and we had to rest on this planet, but we had to keep our focus on the skies and the heavens. So we had to get grounded on this planet. We had to be human. We had to give birth. We had to have sex. We had to sleep. We had to have this human experience, which the bottom line represents. But that our focus should always be on the gods, on the heavens, on our ascension, on how do we get to the next level, on our afterlife, on rebirth, on that process of ultimately leaving this planet. So as humans, we lay down, you know what I mean? Yeah, I know. We have to lay down on this earth and we have to be part of this planet, but then we have to keep our eyes on the heavens and how we focus on our ascension and our afterlife and what happens after this life. Isn't that true? Okay, also, the triangle represents the soul as the bridge. It is the union of what's above us with what's beneath us. An equilateral triangle, I don't know if you know this from physics, this is the other thing I wanted to teach you before we talk about the fingers. An equilateral triangle is very hard to break. If you have a perfect triangle and you hit it with the same amount of pressure on every side, you won't be able to break it. It's that strong. And that's physics. It's the pressure of what happens when the same degrees are in place across the three angles of a triangle. So it almost becomes this unbreakable symbol of your ability to be both human and spirit at the same time. Isn't that cool? I love that so much. It represents the Holy Trinity. It also represents, are you ready? The present moment. This is you right now. And where you came from, your past. And where you're going, your future. Present moment. Be here now. Really, the present moment's all you have. But then you came from a past that's full of magic and ancestry and lineage and power, and you're headed somewhere, right? You have a future, something to look ahead to, where your soul will go and lead you. Isn't that beautiful? So that's why I wear my point up. It leads me, it guides my spiritual practice. It reminds me that I'm in this moment, but I come from somewhere and I'm going somewhere, and all of that really matters too. I know. And then finally, they say that when the triangle points up, the question is, where does my strength come from? Does my strength come from my spirit guides and my ancestors who've crossed, or does my strength come from the planet and her magic and her medicine? And so again, you can kind of pick and choose. Some days I want to just be connected to spirit and source, and so it's point up. My strength comes from there. But some days I want to be really rooted into the earth, and my strength comes from what's beneath me, my ancestors' bones and the ley lines of the planets and the mineral kingdom and all of that. So you may decide that you want to wear it point down because you really want to find your power in the earth and in your bones and in the minerals and the ley lines and all of that too, your earth star chakra. So that's your option too. I thought that was really sweet. I thought you'd enjoy that. Okay, so let's talk quickly about which finger, and then let's activate our rings together. Point up, Buttercup, for Saya. I love that. It's true. You're always in this moment, right? Like, this moment is inescapable. You are here. It's like the map, right? You are here. But you always have come from somewhere, and you're always going somewhere because time is a loop. And so it's like where your focus is becomes extremely important, and your jewelry can reflect it. I will tell you that something though, and I think this is kind of funny. Now you guys are going to read way too much into everybody's jewelry. You're going to be like, his ring was point up. Oh my God, he's connecting with his spirit guides. And then I can just see it. Oh my God, Becky, her ring was pointing down. She's totally feeling connected to her ancestors, but she's not grounded. Don't do it. I'm telling you, Becky, she's so ungrounded. But did you see her triangle ring? I'm telling you, she's not okay. Don't be that person. Meanwhile, Becky's like, I'm tired. I forgot to put my ring on the right side, people. Okay. Don't be that friend. Oh my God, Becky. Okay, you ready for fingers? So anyway, I've got a lot of notes on here that you don't need to look at, but it's okay. So, we are working primarily, like I said, you can go back to the Vedic stuff, the mudra fingers and all of that, but I'm focusing primarily tonight on the astrology and the worksheet that I gave you. So your thumb over here is logic, willpower, and remember that your thumb, thumb rings, what did I put in my notes for thumb rings for you guys? Did I put anything in my notes for thumb rings? Oh, I did. Gold is good for the thumb. It's also good for the ring finger. I know. Okay. So your index finger is water. If you want to wear your lapis ring on your index finger, because it's adjustable, so you can open it and close it and do what you want to do with it. If you really need water element energy, I have to open mine a little bit because my ring finger is a 7. If you really need water element energy, that's how you wear your ring. Okay, on your ring finger with the triangle pointing down. If you need fire energy, you're going to wear it on your ring finger with the triangle pointing up. Water, triangle pointing toward your heart. Fire, triangle pointing away from your heart. Okay. Earth energy, again, triangle pointing down toward your hand. Air energy, triangle pointing up. Now, I really like it on my pinky because I don't have a lot of air energy. I'm always trying to you know, I have Libra rising, which is great, but I don't have much other air in my chart. So I'm always trying to breathe. And so I just really like having it on my pinky finger, right? Which is intuition, communication, relationships, right? And empowerment in those 3 categories, okay? Intuition, communication, relationships, air element associated with Mercury, right? Because that's the planet of communication. So you're going to wear it pointing away from your heart on the pinky finger. Away from your heart on the ring finger is fire, okay? So this is going to be creativity, good fortune, success, Other stones to wear on your ring fingers: sunstone, carnelian, citrine for fire element. Okay. Yeah, so Siren of the Void. Now this is for either hand. Either hand. So you're going to think about this both ways. The middle finger is really nice to wear. The middle finger and the forefinger too. Lapis is indicated for as a Jupiter stone. So technically the best place to wear this ring is the point towards your heart on your index finger, because that's water, and that's the finger of Lapis, which is your Jupiter finger. But I don't want to summon a lot of water. So I'm more interested in summoning air. Yeah, and this image, by the way, is in your Soul Shift Facebook group, and it's in your Soul Shift classroom page. And you can print it from either place. So you have this. If you're on Facebook, it's in your Facebook group. If you're not on Facebook, if you go to sagegoddess.com in your classroom, yeah, they're already in your classroom page. So if you haven't seen it yet, just make sure you double check and you'll find it there. Now, if you want to do it on your thumb, that's okay too. Logic, willpower, this would make a great thumb ring, and it's nice and thin. I like thinner rings for my thumb rings, so that's up to you too. Okay. What else do I want to tell you? Your pinky finger is also a finger of success, and because Lapis is a stone of power and intuition, this is a nice placement for it to know how to do what you want to do in order to be successful. Does that make sense? So this is a really good finger to wear it on. The two best fingers to wear this ring on are your pinky finger and your index finger. And it's not that you can't wear it on the other fingers, but technically those are the most well aspected for it. Fire energy on the pointer finger technically is not there. Technically, fire energy, if you look at the Eastern model that I showed you earlier, fire is in your thumb, and then air is in your index finger, spirit's in your middle finger, earth is in your ring finger, and water's in your pinky finger. Also known as Agni. Right, and you can go through. I have all the middle finger is known as Akasha. This is known as Vayu. This is known as Prithvi, and this is known as Jala. Your pinky finger. What finger for your snake ring? So let's take a look. Now you know I always wear my snake ring on my pointer finger, and that is water. It's also leadership and confidence. And snake is transformation, right? So I lead through wisdom, right? Labradorite is wisdom, intuition, creating something from nothing, which is kind of one of my leadership philosophies too. Yeah. So what about black titanium? You wear those on your thumbs. So your thumb in the Indian tradition is fire, right? It's Agni. Agni is the first fire, right? There's a certain kind of tektite called Agni Mani tektite. Have you heard of it? Agni is thought to be the first fire, the primal fire of all creation on the planet. I don't want to teach you Hindu cosmology tonight, but I'll take you in that deep. If you want to research Agni, you're going to go down a huge rabbit hole, AGNI. So your thumbs are kind of fiery, and they represent the fire element. So that's where I was teaching you the mudras back in January. So thumbs are important in the in the more of the astrological pantheon and tradition. You really just have the four elements, and then the thumb is considered to be your family finger. It represents logic, willpower, strength, force of will. This is the finger that does, and these are the fingers that direct, right? So I'm going to do something through water. I'm going to do something through earth. I'm going to do something through fire, and I'm going to do something through air. That's how the fingers are conceived of or thought about in astrology. These are great questions, by the way. Is this fun for you guys? Are you enjoying this? It's just nice to think about it. And again, then when you start thinking about bracelets, right, we've talked about your projecting hand and your receiving hand. So then you can look at the totality of your fingers and say, okay, well, where did I put my my wedding band? I don't know. Oh, there it is. Right, so you can start to look at your jewelry decisions and see where you where you're making your choices. Yeah, so the mudras were, was it January or February last year, Alexis? You can always go back and just get that one session if you want for $30 because you can watch the recording. It's 2 hours, just like our classes now. But I want to say the mudras were either January or February of last month. Alexis is here with me live, so watch for her comments in the feed. She's got the little gold box around her handle there, so you'll see her responses. I'm so glad. I'm glad this is interesting to you. So smoky quartz, what would you think? So smoky quartz, to me, is an earth element stone. So through this model, I would have to say probably your middle finger, right? Earth. But it depends. You can also look at your jewelry as balancing, right? So you have to look across the medicine wheel to see what balances. So earth balances fire. So you may want to put smoky quartz on your ring finger to balance your fire. Interesting, right? What if your snake, what if I wear my snake ring the opposite direction? I've never done that, but let's do it. It's interesting, right? I mean, for you guys, it probably looks better when I wear it that way. But when I look down at my own hand, I'm like... yeah, so the moon energy of all of your fingers, where did I put that? Moon energy is your Apollo finger. Yeah, on the right hand. So it's going to be this finger. I'm not trying to flip you off, and that is not my middle finger. So if you go, you know what, I went to class tonight, and you know what happened to me? Athena flipped me off. And now I'm not going to talk to her anymore. I did not flip you off. You will know if I flip you off. I'm giving you my ring finger. So your moon finger is your right hand ring finger. Yeah, and that's where you should wear silver and moonstone. I'm not doing that at all right now, but in a perfect world, that's what I would do. I could totally hear Kevin calling me tomorrow and going, listen, I heard you were flipping people off in class last night, and I don't know what happened, but you really shouldn't flip people off. It's your moon finger. I mooned you tonight. Oh, I like that. Well, Shauna wears her snake ring on her thumb, which I think is really beautiful too. I like that actually a lot. I think that's very sexy. I have a genetic malformation on my thumb where my right thumb is really like a thicker knuckle than my left thumb. So I don't wear a ring on this finger because it's my knuckle's so big it's hard to get over it. And what's really crazy is, thank you, Susan Rowan. What's really crazy is Zoe has two of my bigger thumbs. So I have one normal thumb and one Funky Town thumb, and Zoe has two Funky Town thumbs. So I'm always like, what are you gonna do for thumb rings? Like, you got two of my weird thumbs. Anyway, thank you for telling me you'd still talk to me even if I flipped you off. I will never flip you off intentionally. I'll just give you a moon finger. Oh, that's okay. Well, Rochelle, we still have some of the rings. So if you want one of the rings from tonight and you didn't subscribe to your tools, we don't always have leftover tools, but tonight we do. So if you go up to if you go up to the top of this feed, do you see the little box? And Alexis, if you could post again, just because some people may not see the box that you posted. It says, if you missed out on this month's ring, we listed all the extras in the shop. Let me see if I can cut and paste it to Alexis. Control C. Let me see if I can get this to paste for you. But if I can't, no, it's gonna screw up my recording. So anyway, Alexis, if you can paste that. They may not be able to see your pinned comment. But you have 2 of my thumbs. I don't know. It's a Funky Town thumb. I mean, they look pretty normal because my nails are long, but they're weird thumbs. They're really funky. Melanie says, I have so many rings, I can't wear them all. But that's a nice problem to have. So if Moonstone stabilizes emotions, would this be on the water finger? Yes. Although Moonstone is most well aspected to be on the fire ringer of your right hand. That's your moon finger. So this should be where you have silver and where you have Moonstone. Technically. Now my Moonstone ring I wear on my middle finger of my left hand. Okay? So here's what I want to tell you. Okay, good. If you can still see the pinned comment, you're good. Here's what I want to tell you. First of all, I loved teaching this to you tonight. I am the consummate rule breaker. If you tell me to go right, I'm going to go left. If you tell me to put this ring on some other finger, I'm going to forget and put it just where I want to put it. I'm an absolute rebel. I don't really apologize for it. And you're going to see me break pretty much every rule I just taught you tonight because I do my own thing. But I think you should know when you're breaking a rule. So I think you should know, for example, that your moon finger is the right ring finger on your right hand. But then if you choose to wear the Moonstone on the other finger, you're using your intuition and you're doing what's right for you. So I don't think there's a wrong way to do it. And like I said, don't be that weird friend who's like, Becky's not very grounded. Check out her triangle. Like, don't do that either. You know what I mean? Like, maybe Becky doesn't know that she needs to wear her triangle with the point up and the bottom down, right? Ooh, Catherine's got double jointed thumbs. Let's see, that's way cooler than what I've got. I have like half jointed thumbs. They're not that great. So Karen's like, should I swap back to my right hand, how I originally wore it? Here's what I'm going to tell you. Take a look at everything and then keep doing what you're doing if you're happy with it. Only make a change after tonight if you're like, you know what? I really want to wear this bracelet, for myself or for other people. So I'm going to put it on my receiving hand or my projecting hand, or I really want to start working with my moon finger. On the new moon, I want to wear a labradorite ring on that finger. On the full moon, I want to wear a full moon or moonstone ring on that finger. Maybe you really do want to start modifying or adapting based on this. But only do it if it follows your intuition. Don't do things just because I say it or Vedic astrology says it, or because I'm going to be teaching you about the Navaratna later this year, which is Vedic astrology, and then that's going to throw you for another loop. But the reality is your intuition's always right. So I love teaching you. I love that you now know, you know what I mean? Kind of like the technically correct things to do, but I still want you to honor and follow your intuition because it's gotten you this far and it's probably accurate. But at least you can say, I'm making this choice because, and not like, oh, I don't know, I just kind of went with whatever. You have a lot of choices. It's really true. Yeah, Catherine says she's got such tiny pinky fingers she can't wear it there, even though that's where she wants. So the closest alternative, the best other finger is your pointer finger for lapis, because that's your water finger, and technically lapis is a water stone. Moldavite... I wear it on my index finger, which is leadership and confidence and all of that. I think for me, the reason I love Moldavite so much is I don't feel like I'm from this planet. In fact, most of the time I look around at other humans and I'm like, I don't really get it. Humanity kind of like befuddles me sometimes. So I think I wear this Moldavite on this finger. I've always worn it on this finger. I mean, if you've been with me, I've had this ring for like 6 or 7 years, and it's the only one I wear on that finger. I never buy another ring for that finger, because there's no point. I consciously think I wear this ring on this finger because I don't want to lead like somebody from this planet. I want to lead like somebody who's not from here. so that I break the mold. You know what I mean? So I stay intuitive and true and accurate and authentic. And I don't try to do it like everybody else does it. So I don't know if that helps you, but I think that's why I put Moldavite on my index finger, because that's your... So the last thing I want to tell you, I forgot to tell you this actually. Hold on. Do you know about kissing the ring? I'll leave you with this because we're already a little bit over time, but I'm really glad that you guys were here. And if you, I'll tell you this, I think one of the best parts of Crystal Masters is that you have a private Facebook group with me and Alexis, where we will answer any question you have. So if anything comes up from tonight and you're like, I didn't get enough, what did she say about that? I don't remember. You can tag me. You can tag Alexis. We're in that group almost every day. We're not there on the weekends, but Monday to Friday we are. And so if there's anything that confused you from tonight, like, you can immediately get an answer tomorrow. So I just want to remind you, your Facebook group is, to me, part of the benefit of being in the program, truly. In Europe, okay, this was the finger. So the queen would go, you would have an audience with the queen or the king, and they would go, and this was the ring you would kiss. Right? So they always call it the royal finger or the power finger. And it's interesting to me because that's the Jupiter finger, and Jupiter is the planet of, like, kind of divine grace. It's like divine goodwill, right place, right time. As royalty would say, divinely appointed. It's funny to think about it, but when I was working on my master's degree, we haven't activated the ring yet, so we got to do one more thing. When I was working on my master's degree, I was somewhat of an expert in European monarchy, in the literature around European monarchy. And so this was the finger. In Europe, kings and queens did not care what was on any other finger. They worried about their thumb, and they worried about this. And do you know what ring they wore, bringing us all the way back to the beginning of our time together tonight? They wore their signet ring. So that would be, you would kiss the symbol of the monarchy. Isn't that cool, when you would come and kiss the ring? So if you want to do it that way, I would say you can kiss the ring. I'd have to resize mine to do that. Okay, so you ready to activate your ring? And then we are all done for tonight. Are you ready? So this is a very simple activation. Kiss my ring. I don't know, it's weird. I kind of said it with a southern accent. Y'all can kiss my ring. I don't do a good southern accent. And it shouldn't be southern, it should be more British. And I'm not good at a British accent. But you get the gist, okay? Here's how you activate your ring. I want you to take a moment and decide, let's just activate the lapis for tonight, but you can do the same thing with any of your rings. Decide for me, please, what finger you're going to wear this on. I'm going to wear it on my left pinky finger. That's for Mercury. That's for communication. I want to speak with power. I want my intuition to guide how I speak and how I communicate. So I love having lapis as my Mercury finger ring. The other one, like I said, that it's well aspected for is your water finger, which is your index finger. I have dedicated rings for those fingers, though, so I just can't commit to wearing them on that finger. So that's what I'm doing. And I tend to like a pinky ring better on my left hand than I do on my right hand. So choose the finger now that you know, right? Again, Jupiter for water, Saturn for earth, Apollo for fire, Mercury for air, and then this is your sort of like family wild card finger, so if you want to do your thumb ring, that's good too. Kiss my ring mate sounds really good, probably in an Australian, very sexy Australian accent, I should say. Okay, middle finger, again, is earth, and that's Saturn. This isn't a very Saturnian ring. Saturn is more like... Saturn's kind of tough, right? It's structure, it's father energy, it's order, it's life lessons, right? Your Saturn rings. That's why I put my shit basket on there, because it's just like, put that Saturn shit in my shit basket. Okay, so you ready? So what I do when I'm activating a ring, because lapis is a transmitter stone, meaning It has more than one mineral inside of it. And whenever there's one mineral that contains more than one mineral, I call them transmitter minerals, because I believe that our creator thought that was special. Most minerals are a single mineral. So when you have quartz with inclusions or lapis with pyrite or all of these other things, like, I think they're special. So I call them transmitter minerals. Your fire finger is your ring finger. Okay. Now, what you're going to do is you want to take the ring and you want the triangle to touch your third eye. Ready? And so as we do this, I want you to close your eyes. I like to do it on my finger, okay? You're going to close your eyes, and I want you to imagine all four of the directions coming together. So south comes from below, north comes from above, east comes in, west comes in. I want you to imagine maybe the winds of the four directions or the energies of the four directions coming and gathering around your ring as you bring it to your third eye. And so together, I'm doing it with you. Together we give this permission, this ring permission, to advise us and guide us, to bring us his ancient wisdom across the sands of time. We encourage it to bring us the transformational powers of fire from the south, the grounding powers of earth from the north, the air energies from the east, and all of the water energies from the west. And we open our third eye to receive this vision and this transmission. And we give thanks for the wisdom and the transmissions already on their way from this piece. And together we say, Amen, Aho, and so it is. That was buzzy. Woo! And then what I'll tell you is, did you feel that? When I pulled that away from my third eye, I was like, that felt really good. And then what I'll tell you is, even if you decide not to wear this, put it on your chain. You know what I mean? Like, keep it near you, or put it on your keychain, right? Or just keep it somewhere where it can be an advisor to you. Once you dedicate a transmitter ring with the forces of north, south, east, and west, earth, air, fire, and water, life is never quite the same. And my intention was to give you a piece now that will transmit wisdom and power and energy. This lapis came from Afghanistan, so you have, it's literally the direct lineage of this stone that's been guiding our ancestors for the last 6,000 years. That's the earliest record we have of it, right? The lapis was the first stone to be carved in Mesopotamia. It was the first stone to be traded along the Silk Road. It was the first stone to be quarantined and quarried by the Egyptian pharaohs. Why is that? There's magic there. So enjoy this piece. Wasn't it buzzy? I know. I was like, oh, I want to do it again and again and again and again. Woo. Yeah, it might fall off a chain, so be careful. What one person did is they went and had it soldered by a jeweler. So if you know, and my jeweler is willing to do it for me too. He just wants me to figure out what ring I want to wear it on, or what finger I want to wear it on. And he said once I'm, you know, because you know me, I'm Libra rising, so I can never make up my mind. But he said once I figure it out, he's going to solder it for me. And a good jeweler can do it. He's going to charge me $20 to solder it. But that way I can just always wear it on my pinky finger and it's sized for me and I don't have to worry about it. But if you want to keep it adjustable, don't solder it. That's just one option for you if you decide to do it. So try it again. If you didn't feel all the buzzy buzz, try it again. Might be a lighter buzz for you. And you can do that with all of them. So if you have another ring, like, and play for a minute, right? My Moldavite. I mean, I don't even have to say anything for that to get buzzy. Moldavite's just buzzy. But, you know, fire beneath you, earth above you, air to the east of you, water to the west of you. And on the great winds, they come together and meet here at your third eye. Amen, Aho, and so it is. You're so welcome, you guys. I'm so glad. I don't know when the Phoenix read is coming because of COVID. They're talking about shutting India down again. Did you hear that? It's being made in India right now. That's that little opal ring we're having made. That's going to be a beautiful one. But I don't know. Please pray for India. And we just heard this morning that they might be doing a full country shutdown again. And India already went through that last year, so our prayers are with India now. There is a discount code for Soul Shift, but today the discount code in the shop I think is the same as the discount code for the website, so you can just use your code today, which is 18 luck. There's a little gift with purchase today too, so if you do decide to get your lapis ring today, you're getting pyrite, green aventurine, and a little 4-leaf clover charm. We thought it was cute because it's St. Patrick's Day. And I think that's all I have for you. So yeah, so if you want one of the lapis rings, we have some left, not a lot, but if you'd like one, they're there. Or, you know what? Activate one of your own rings tonight. Joseph's back. Yes, I will let you know when the oracle cards are here, and thank you for being excited about them, Morgan. I'm excited too. It's taken 6 months. I know. You know, here in the U.S., we're starting to think COVID's kind of, getting under control, and then you hear about other countries in the world and it is not under control, so we continue to pray. I think so, AJ. I like it. He's asking if Seraphonite would be a good transmitter stone. I'll tell you something, AJ. I don't think you can go wrong. If your intuition is you've got a transmitter stone on your hands, I think you should activate it. For me, lapis has always been that, but I mean, what about a Herkimer diamond? What about diamonds in general? What about, I don't know. I think there's a lot of possibilities for transmitter rings. So if you feel like you have one, you should activate it and go forth. I'm glad you had fun too. Well, I just adore you guys. Thank you so much for being there. We really appreciate you. So my next opportunity to see you, are you ready for Friday? If you're in Soul Shift, we have a private spring equinox ceremony starting at 4. Then we have our public spring equinox ceremony starting at 6. And then at 7, I'm teaching you a bonus class on the gems and minerals of renewal, because we're turning the great wheel to spring. So if you're in Soul Shift, you're going to see me for 3 hours on Friday. If you're in Crystal Masters and not Soul Shift, you're going to see me for 2 hours on Friday. So get ready for that. We have all kinds of spring equinox fun for you. I know, can you believe spring equinox is here? And you guys in the southern hemisphere are turning the wheel the opposite direction. God, we need spring here. It was a long winter here in the north, so I'm really excited to welcome it with you. And yeah, so the notes are coming forward for you. Our team takes notes for you. So if you didn't take notes tonight, you did the right thing. We will post those notes for you. So, because I just want you to be here to relax and enjoy. I don't want you to worry about like trying to write everything down. So those will be posted for you. And then if you're new to Crystal Masters, we have live readings this month too, where I do 1 hour of live readings from my crystal healing tray, and that's coming up for you too. So make sure you check the schedule that's in your Facebook group and on your classroom page. That'll tell you when to look forward to that. Yeah, and if you miss Friday for any reason, that's totally okay. It's all recorded. So anything that you miss will be recorded. You can watch it later. And yeah, and enjoy being out of town, DJ. That sounds like fun. I know. You guys. I am in LA. We had some snow, but it's east of us in the mountains. I'm right on the coastline of Los Angeles, right near what we call the beach cities of Los Angeles. The South Bay is what it's called. We don't get any snow here. We get really annoying birds named Joseph, and occasionally a cold day or two. Oh, I like that. Kimberly's asking about citrine money rings. Your water finger is your index finger, your pointer finger, and this is your money finger. So if you have a citrine ring that you really love, kiss the ring, darling. You know, it'd be so cool. And I don't know if I can do it, so you may want to have somebody make it for you. It'd be really cool to do a citrine signet ring with like a prosperity symbol to go on your ring finger, your water finger. And especially, so you think about like your projecting hand and your receiving hand, right? So you'd want to wear that on your left hand to receive prosperity, ring finger. That was a great question. I love that. And like I said, any other questions you have about stones and everything else, because we're quite over time, but I'd love to continue the dialogue. So please post your questions in our Crystal Masters Facebook group. That's what it's there for. I'm there. Alexis is there. We will answer all of your questions. So this is not your only chance to ask questions. We will totally follow up with you in the morning. Both of us are going to be off for the evening now, but we'll be back in your Facebook group starting at 9:30 Pacific time tomorrow. So keep the questions coming, and we'll be there with as many answers as we can have for you. And go have fun looking at your stones. I know it's going to be super fun to go back through your jewelry collection. So we'll see you soon. Have a great evening. Thank you, Alexis, as always. I appreciate you so much. We'll see you guys on Friday.